It's the opening week of high school football for the 2024 season. I'm Dan Ramey, and I have a special guest with me today. He is Scott Bartholomew, head coach of the Chillicothe Cavaliers.
How are you, Dan?
Good, good. Starting season 40, right?
Yes.
We used to be young guys.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
We're going to talk a little bit about the Chillicothe a lot about Chillicothe Cavaliers. They've got a season that starts against the Bloom Carroll Bulldogs. There's a relationship with BC, and this coach will tell you more about that coming up in just a bit. But first, these words from Adina.
Pain was interfering with Tiffany's active lifestyle. Same-day hip replacement at the Adina Orthopedic and Spine Institute got her back to the community she calls home. At Adina, we do what we love, so you can too.
As we get ready for opening night, this week in particular, it's a special week because the Chillicothe School District is doing a lot of promotion for the game. Want to get a lot of people out to the O.
Yeah, I think they're trying to just create an atmosphere of family and enjoyment. I mean, we're having fish fry. I think they're going to have some games and things like that going on and make it kind of a family thing and try to create that atmosphere that it's good to come to a high school football game and bring your kids.
Yes, tailgating and a whole lot more will be going on, cornhole tournament and everything as well. So bring extra cash with you so you can participate in the good stuff there. You're going to be facing Bloom Carroll, and let's start right off talking about this game in particular. This is a program you're more than familiar with, having spent 6 years there as a defensive coach, and one of the fellows you coached with is now their head coach.
Yes. Jeremy McKinney, and he coached with us all the years I was there, and he's a great guy, and he's a very good football coach, and he retained Kevin Miller and Jack Cheek are outstanding football coaches. So the level of coaching that these kids are receiving is excellent. And they've just had we were able to get that thing turned when we were there years ago, and they've just kept it going and done a really nice job with it. And I think, the year after we left, they were in the state championship game, and then they Final Four game last year, so they have a lot of that confidence that just kind of goes from year to year to build that tradition, and these guys as coaches do an excellent job.
Yeah, and if anything, having worked with them, they know your tendencies. They know what you would probably want to do defensively and everything.
Well, and I think that's one of the more important things, even knowing and understanding the coordinators that you play against and understanding what they do and how they teach and what they expect. I mean, because you try to use those things in your advantage if you can. And, no matter whether you're playing someone where you've coached before or someone and some coaches like to run trick plays. Some coaches like to blitz a little bit more than other coaches. Some coaches believe in this thing. So you kind of use that to the best of your ability you can. So, Ryan Cheek is a defensive coordinator. Jeremy went from defense over to offense this year. And, Jeremy's first year, calling offense, but I know Jeremy's personality. He does a great job. He's going to do things. He's just going to continue to do the things he does correctly, and he's not going to expand on a bunch of stuff. And Ryan coached with us there for a couple years, and he's defensively, a little bit about style. He's aggressive, come downhill, attack type of guy, and his defense is going to be very aggressive and get after it and be very physical.
We, through Litter Media Radio, had the opportunity to see Bloom Carroll a couple of times last year, and they've got one of the top quarterbacks in Central Ohio in Ethan Van Vanavon.
Yeah, Ethan, we called him Thanos. That's what we always called him when I was there, and I don't know if they still do or not, but Ethan's an outstanding kid. He's that kid, even as a freshman, he came in the mornings before school and got his workouts in and was throwing. He is who he is because of his work habits, and he's a great individual. I watch him stand in the pocket. He's very confident, but as a senior who played in a state championship game as a sophomore and a Final Four game as a freshman, he watched, and in the Final Four game he played in as a junior. Now he's just that savvy quarterback back there. He just stands there until he understands what's going on and he gets rid of the ball. He's a great leader of that team.
Yeah, and they usually have strength in numbers.
Yeah, they do have a lot of numbers, and That's been something that's happened here in the last 5 or 6 years. The numbers have really increased for him. And, when you have bodies, it helps with your depth. It helps with injuries and those kind of things. So, they're in pretty good shape where they're at right now.
Let's talk about the Cavaliers. Tell me, who is your man running the offense now, and some of the faces that we'll get a chance to see.
Well, the man that's running the offense is Anthony Wagner. I turned it over to him, and coming from Logan Elm with us, he played for me, and now he's going to call the offense, and he's done a really good job with our kids. But as far as the young man that's going to run the offense's quarterback position is Andrew Hammond. He's a sophomore. He's a heady kid. He's that kid. I talked about Ethan this winter. Andrew, I took him 2 or 3 times up to on a Sunday morning to West Jeff to their indoor facility. Grandpa drove him there a couple times. Mom drove him there a couple times. But every Sunday he got up in the wintertime and went to West Jeff to work out and do quarterback drills and try to make himself better. And, those are the kids that you want in your program. Those are the type of kids you want that's going to do the extras. And so, he's going to be a sophomore. It's what sophomores are. And even like I was talking about with Ethan, his sophomore year, he had some issues. And so, Andrew's he's just going to be a sophomore, but he's going to make some plays. It's going to be really exciting. And so, our job is to limit the positions and places we put him in so that he can be more successful.
And the reason to go to West Jefferson, there's one of your protégés there as well.
Yeah, Coach Bisher, who coached for me years ago at Oak Hill and at Westfall. He's the head coach there, and he was I hired him as a quarterback coach, and so it was either him or my son, who I also had as a quarterback coach, and but my son was an hour and a half away, and Bisher was an hour away, so we took the shorter trip, and so yeah, Sean, he's got a son that's a junior, and so he does those workouts in the winter, and Andrew went every Sunday, and I thought he showed much improvement while we were there.
And Sean was part of the Cavaliers at one point in time back when Bill Dennis was in.
Well, when I left Oak Hill, I didn't have a job at Westfall for Sean, and so he came to Chillicothe for 1 year, and then he came to Westfall the following year. So Mr. Crago
made history.
Yeah, yeah. Mr. Crago was our superintendent up there, and I talked him into hiring Sean from down here. So
it worked out.
Yep.
As for this offense, do you have the same offensive scheme? I mean, we've seen so much of the wide open play.
Yeah, no, we each year you adjust a little bit based on your personnel and what you have. And this year we have a really nice group of seniors, and the majority of those seniors are linemen, big bodies. And so we looked at our situation and said, why don't we look at a double tight package? So we took 2 of our starting offensive linemen from last year and made them tight ends. And so then we used the rest of the guys to fill in. And then so we're going to be in a 2 tight, 2 wide set. We'll still be in a gun, 1 back set. But these 2 kids are very skilled in receiving the ball, but they're offensive linemen. So we should and hopefully be able to have some success running the ball because of the people we have up front.
All throughout my time of being around Chillicothe football, skills positions have always been very good. And if you can get those outer edge blocking schemes going, you can hit that outside and make some things happen with those kids.
And it's funny because you say that. It's like I had somebody from Chillicothe. This is the least amount of skill kids I've seen at Chillicothe in years. Right? Now, we have some good skill kids, but the depth of the skill kids and the skill kid positions. So that was one of the other reasons that we went to this package, was because of the depth that we had. We feel that the skill kids that we have are very good, but there wasn't the depth there that we thought we needed. So that was another reason that we went to this offensive package. Yeah. So
you had some good running backs last year. Got dinged up later in the season. Who's back for you now?
Sean Smith will be a senior. He was our main running back last year too. He got a couple concussions. And so, but he's had a really good off season. He's had a really good preseason. And Quincy Lechner is going to be a sophomore. He's had a really good preseason. And then there's a couple other kids in the mix, but there's also a freshman running back, Jordan Swanison. The other night, if you were down at Cold Grove, he made one of those runs that you don't see very often. He ran to the left, and he stopped and he ran clear back to the right, and then he ran clear back to the left to score in the end zone. And so he's going to be fun to watch as he gets older. Now, whether he gets in the mix at the varsity level or not this year, I don't know, but he's a very talented young man. At the wide receiver spots, you have Juan Miller, who was a quarterback most of the year last year, but Juan has stepped out to wide receiver and does a great job, runs great routes, catches the ball really well. And then the other side will probably be Carte Ligon, who's a freshman. Carte is very talented young man, and he's learning to play at the varsity level like every talented kid coming out of junior high. You know, they were bigger or faster or whatever, and some of the techniques or habits they had don't always work at the varsity level. The speed of the game is better. The defenses are more organized. So he's learning to do those things, and you can see the growth every day, and especially after the scrimmages that we had, you could see. And he's going to be a kid once he gets there where he needs to be, he's going to make a difference in the games.
Yeah. I know he was a human highlight film at the middle school level.
And he's on both sides of the ball right now. So, he's doing a great job. And Zion Henson's another senior that'll play out there wide, and Cam Badger. So, we have some kids there that'll rotate in those spots.
And a lot of these kids have been in the program. I mean, they've from youth peewee all the way up to here. So they've got the Chillicothe tradition.
Yeah, they do, and it's real nice. And then up front, like I said, you have Don Barron and Daniel Sism, which were offensive linemen last year, are the two of the tight ends, along with Milton Beverly and Trace McAllister, a sophomore. And so I don't know how much varsity time those guys will see, but they're the backups for those positions. And then you go inside, and you're looking at Trent Wade. Started on the offensive line last year. Braylon Scales started on the offensive line, and Carson Rearley. So those three have worked themselves back into spots that they're going to play. Then a sophomore's kind of stepped up and had a really good offseason. It's Connor Rutherford. He's a big boy. He's about 6'5", about 300 pounds, and he's learned that he has a mass that can push people around. And so he's really worked hard on his technique, and he's going to be fun to watch and grow. He's a really hard-working kid that really wants to get better at the game. So, and then there's the kid that's a 4-year starter and 3-year starter on the offensive line right now. I'm just rotating him on the offensive line. It's Cole Crawford, and it's basically because Cole can play guard or center, and so he's going to be the backup for those two spots. But he's going to start on the defense, so this gives him a chance to catch his breath. But when we need Cole, we can use him and put him in. And then Truett McGlone played linebacker last year. He's going to come over, and he'll kind of rotate or spell the two tackles if needed. Now, the two tackles right now aren't playing defense, so I don't know how much offense Truett will play, but he's their backup. So that gives you kind of an idea of the offensive side of the ball.
If you can get the hog mollies to understand physics, that's half the job right there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have another young sophomore. He's 6'3", about 350, and when he learns that people in front of him are going to go backwards when he wants to go forwards, he might be a force too. He just hasn't learned that yet. He's still growing there in that area.
Yeah. Defensively, how is your scheme this year coming?
We changed to a 3-4. We felt like with some of the things we were seeing spread wise and stuff like that, and the skill set that we had with linebackers and those kind of things, we felt like we had more linebackers per se than maybe we did D linemen, but it's kind of balanced out as we've went along through camp. But it's really good. It's a more aggressive defensive set, and it allows more people standing up to see what's going on and to attack. So we'll be in a 3-4 defense, and then in that you got Juan Miller and Sean Smith both play corner, and then we have a new kid, Victor Hitchens. He was a basketball kid last year, came out this year, first-year senior. He's really kind of catching up with the game, but he's growing, and I think he's going to be able to help us at corner and maybe wide receiver some before it's all said and done. Safety-wise, two new kids. You have Carte Ligon, who's a freshman, and we were fortunate. Cannon Smith decided to come back out this year after being involved in wrestling and placing third in the state 2 years in a row as a wrestler, as a freshman and sophomore. He put his focus last year on wrestling, and he said he missed football, and he came up. I was standing there in the summer camp, and I looked over, and he stands beside me and said, "What do you want?" And he goes, "Well, I'd like to ask you a question." I said, "What's that?" And he goes, can I still play? I said, well, the legal start date from high school isn't until tomorrow. So you show up tomorrow with your physical and your paperwork, you're in. He showed up with all it done. And so we're blessed to have him. He's done a really nice job. So that kind of gives you an idea of the secondary, the linebacker-wise. Inside you have Dom Barron, Jet McAllister, and Truett McGlone. Truett and Jet played in there last year as sophomores. Obviously just a growth thing, and they're so much different now as juniors, and they're going to be even more fun to watch next year as seniors. So they're just big, fast, physical kids, and Dom's a senior that rotates in there with them and gives them a break when they need it. And then outside you have Cam Badger and Milton Beverly. And then on the down line, you have about 6 kids that will see varsity time with Daniel Sism and Nate Sism and Cole Crawford and Rearley and Trent Wade, and I know I'm forgetting one. I'm trying to think who it is, but
you'll remember Friday.
Yeah, yeah. Or the parents will call me and say, "Hey, you forgot my kid on the radio." So, but there's 5 or 6 kids there that are going to play on Friday and make a difference.
Yeah, you've got a lot. There's 3 Sisms brothers, right?
Yes, yeah. There's a freshman, junior, and a senior.
Yeah.
Those are Coach. I always tell Coach Oney, those are his sons. He's in charge of taking care of them.
And of course, Coach is the D line and offensive line, right? We've talked about personnel. Let's talk about your schedule. You've got Bloom Carroll, of course, who is very strong, has a long tradition of postseason playoff football. You follow up next week then with whom?
London.
We've seen them 3 or 4 times.
So you look at our 9-6 schedule, and it's tough. It's okay. It's the teams that are our size. They're the teams that we should be playing. They are the teams that we should be competing with. They're the teams we're going to have to compete with in the playoffs. And someone you can look and say these are teams are where we want to be. Bloom Carroll's been in the playoffs every year now. This will be their 7th year, 8th year in a row they've been in the playoffs, and London's the same way. I mean, I think Bloom won 10 games, 8 regular season, but 10 games total. London was 10-0 in the regular season. Then you go down, you got the third game, you have Western Brown, who last year had kind of a down year. They were 4-6, but I found out later on that they returned all 11 starters on offense. So, and so.
And people will need to find out how to get to Mount Orb from Chillicothe.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think there's an easy way to get there.
There's not. You probably have to go by my house.
Yeah. So, and then you go Portsmouth West, who won 9 games last year. And then you go to Wilmington, who had a great year for Wilmington. They were 8-2 last year. And so those are our 5 non-league games. And I feel like they're all our size, and they're all in the playoff picture, and they're the people we need to play. It's where we need to be.
And last year there were some FAC/SCOL schools that had not been able to get Chillicothe figured out, and they got some wins last year.
And they did. And
Greenfield
and Hillsboro and Courthouse all got us last year, and it's. You and I talked off the air about confidence and things like that, and we had that edge on them, but we weren't able to hold it last year. So those games they'll be battles, Then we'll have to play well and we'll have to play hard, and that's what you expect. And but we want to get back to that where those are games that we expect to win. You know what I mean? And so.
And then you've got Miami Trace and of course Jackson to wrap things up.
So the first 2 and the last 2 are probably the 4 top teams on our schedule. Not that the ones in between are bad. It's just that those are the teams that, Miami Trace beat Hamilton Township last year in the playoffs, who beat Bloom Carroll, in the regular season. And Jackson's been in the regional championship game a couple of times in the last 4 or 5 years. And so those are, those are teams that are doing the things we want to do.
Mm-hmm. I have to ask you on a personal note, what was it like for you to, when you jumped in the FAC the first time, to go to Greenfield, to go to Miami Trace, to go to Washington Courthouse, places you went as a player in high school?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I went to Greenfield for the first time, of course, it was at Logan Elm when we went as a scrimmage. I went in the locker room and sat down right in the same spot I sat in as a sophomore when I started my first high school football game. And so, it had a lot of memories, of traveling to those places and playing against those people. And but now it's a whole new ball game, and we're going forward.
It all starts Friday night. It'll be our Litter Media Game of the Week. Bloom Carroll comes to Chillicothe. Is this a home and away series?
Yes, we'll be. Yep.
So be prepared to go to Bloom Carroll next year.
Yeah, actually, our junior high is going to Bloom Carroll on Wednesday, and our JVs will go there Saturday, and then our freshman group will play Bloom Carroll at home in 2 weeks.
Okay, so you'll get to have your fill of purple and gold.
Exactly.
Scott Bartholomew, good luck to you. And our Litter Media radio crew will be there as well. The introduction of BJ Daly returning to the booth with Mike Smith. And we'll have that for you on Litter Media Radio about 6:50 this coming Friday evening. Until next time.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, Scott Bartholomew, our special guest today on another edition of Litter Media Live.